You are merely a mountain, yet you command the affection of the goddess Nuwa and entice the mother of the earth Hautu to slumber upon you day after day. Even the Sanqing must take a detour when they encounter you, for you have been reincarnated as the primordial titan, Mount Buzhou. In this primordial world, where powerful beings can uproot mountains and drain seas to lay waste to the heavens, you know that as a stationary target, your only hope for survival is to pour every ounce of your talent into defense. Thus you forged the indestructible golden body of the Xuanhuang Eternal Aeon. With the constant fortification of the eternal heaven-binding physique, your mountain form has become increasingly sacred, even giving rise to countless spiritual treasures, such as the primordial gourd vine, the heaven-piercing divine tree, the nine-leaf swordgrass, and the perfect willow tree. The great powers of the primordial world view you as a land of fortune and creation, yet few dare to come and contest it. Because when the Great War of the Liches erupted, the demonic god Gonggong slammed into Mount Buzhou, only to end up weeping in defeat. Damn this Mount Buzhou, why is it harder than a divine turtle's shell? In a corner of the endless chaos, your soul gazes upon the scene before you, utterly stunned. Is that the great god Pangu? The sheer magnitude of his presence is beyond what human language can describe. You are filled with both terror and awe, your voice trembling as you watch. You were originally a 21st century office worker named Yi Feng. After falling asleep and transmigrating into the calamity of creation, you care nothing for the great Tao or Pangu, you only want to survive. Putting as much distance as possible between yourself and the fray, you maneuver your consciousness to desperately flee the battlefield, fearing that the shock waves will cause your soul to scatter into nothingness. Before long, the battle is decided. The physical forms of the 3,000 demon gods are hewn down by Pangu, who then raises his divine axe to begin splitting the heavens. My Tao is accomplished, the majestic voice echoes throughout the chaos. As the divine light erupts, you witness this sight and your eyes suddenly brighten. Your opportunity has arrived. You know that the remnant souls of the demon gods rely on clinging to Pangu's essence to achieve reincarnation. Figures like Hongjin and Luoho achieved greatness in this very manner. If you can attach yourself to Pangu's primordial spirit, you will eventually become one of the Sanqing. You would start your path directly as a saint, but you never expected that countless other remnant souls had also set their sights on the primordial spirit, moving faster than you. You are so incensed by these old foxes that you curse aloud. Suddenly, Pangu's primordial spirit erupts with brilliance, forming a protective barrier of divine radiance that blasts away the remnant souls rushing forward. If the Sanqing are beyond reach, you decide to aim for the ancestral witches. Born from Pangu's heart, their physical forms are powerful, and there are many such spots available. You rush toward the heart, only to be repelled once again by the divine radiance. The pressure of the world splitting grows increasingly intense. Your soul could shatter at any moment, and you have no time to hesitate. You decide to head for the solar star or the lunar star to possess the bodies of Dijun, Taiyi, Shihei, or even Changxi. But when you eagerly dash toward them, you find yourself blocked by a mysterious, impenetrable force. You are not alone. All the remnant souls of the demon gods are being rejected by these essences, and everyone is consumed with rage. Pangu, you drive us to the brink of extinction. Once we reform our bodies, we will surely raze this world to the ground. A remnant soul of a demon god roars, his resentment reaching toward the heavens. At this moment, a drifting, ethereal sound of the Tao resonates. The primordial world has its fixed destiny. Minor events may be altered, but the grand outcome cannot be defied. Why must you persist? As the sound of the Tao fades, the divine light shatters, and many remnant souls explode on the spot, vanishing into complete oblivion. Your consciousness begins to blur, and you lament in your heart. It is over. I am about to be erased as well. After an unknown amount of time, your consciousness finally awakens. I am not dead, you think, feeling a surge of joy followed by deep despair. Heavens above, I have actually become a mountain. A mountain so gargantuan that it defies all logic, yet I am utterly incapable of the slightest movement. In the primordial world, there has never been a legend of an immortal mountain achieving humanoid form. Is this the fate that Pangu once spoke of? If this is the case, what is the point of playing this game? You intended to rely on your foreknowledge to thrive, but as a mountain that cannot move or retaliate, you are destined for destruction without the ability to transform. System, oh great system, show yourself at once. You call out incessantly within your heart, but the only response is a deathly, chilling silence. Systems in novels are truly deceptive. You have no choice but to accept reality and begin researching your own essence. Your physical form is brimming with dense spiritual energy and countless heavenly treasures, yet you remain a mere bystander, unable to touch them. The only stroke of luck is that the remnant divine might of your origin still protects you, though even this power is gradually fading. At the foot of the mountain, a sudden eruption of combat between ferocious beasts fills you with a sense of impending crisis. If you remain this passive for much longer, your core will eventually be compromised by the fallout. The cataclysm of beasts is approaching, and the heavenly Tao seeks to replenish itself. I cannot sit idly by and wait for death. The great Tao retreats, the heavenly Tao evolves, and destiny manifests. Option 1. Slay Pangu and shoulder the karma of the cataclysm. After the cataclysm, you may receive the opportunity to achieve humanoid form. Option 2. Rigid, unwavering defense. Activate the absolute defense system. So the system does exist after all, yet option 1 gives you a splitting headache. Slay Pangu? With what head are you supposed to do that? That is nothing more than a death sentence. While it seems there are two choices, in reality there is only option 2. You laugh and cry at once. You fear death, and with the absolute defense, at least you can struggle to survive for a while longer. I choose option 2. Choice confirmed. Congratulations to the host for acquiring the absolute defense system. The interface appears, displaying 4 distinct defensive attributes at the Taiyi Golden Immortal level. Each attribute requires 100 million defense points to upgrade to the Daluo Golden Immortal level. Current defense points, 0. You may perform a daily check-in to receive between 1 and 100,000 defense points. The host has not yet checked in for the day. Would you like to check in? Check in. Check-in successful. Reward, 100,000 defense points, not bad luck at all. You struck the maximum reward on the very first try. You are secretly overjoyed. And so, you begin your days of checking in. Countless years pass and your defensive techniques have been significantly elevated. Anything below the Taiyi Golden Immortal level cannot inflict even the slightest scratch upon you. This grants you a fleeting sense of security, but only a fleeting one. The revolution has not yet succeeded, and you must continue to strive, comrade. Check in, continue to check in. Throughout the days of your endless check-ins, the primordial world has undergone earth-shattering transformations. First, a horde of ferocious beasts emerged upon the land, followed by countless innate living beings. The two factions inevitably pitted against each other in endless strife. The primordial heaven and earth are submerged in chaotic warfare with no end in sight. All of this is secretly driven by the heavenly Tao, merely to replenish its own strength. Eventually, the forces of the innate beings and the ferocious beasts reached an equilibrium, meeting only to engage in incessant slaughter. Despite your caution, you are not immune to the destruction, as fragments of your mountain body are shattered by the lingering impact of their battle. You can only curse silently while feeling powerless. You must find a way to draw the battlefield away from your true form, lest it be shattered sooner or later. Yet, no matter how much you ponder, you cannot conceive of a solution. The great Tao retreats, the heavenly Tao evolves, and the mandate of heaven emerges. Choice 1. Slay the god rebellious one and the beasts of the tribulation, becoming a destined figure of the era to receive the fortuitous opportunity of transformation. Choice 2. Focus solely on defense, unlocking the absolute defense system version 2.0. Your forehead is covered in black lines. The system is here to cause trouble again. Shen Ni is a quasi-sage. How could I possibly contend with him? Without a moment's hesitation, you think to yourself, I choose 2. Being alive is better than facing certain death. Selection complete. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Absolute Defense System version 2.0. The dashboard has updated with 4 types of defensive physiques at the Great Luo Golden Immortal level. Each type can be upgraded at the cost of 10 billion defense points. Congratulations on receiving a special skill. Concealment of Heavenly Secrets. This skill can envelop your entire true form. It masks all heavenly secrets, ensuring that even the heavenly Tao cannot locate you. By concealing the heavenly secrets, even the heavenly Tao itself can be shielded. This is magnificent. You are filled with astonishment and hope. With this skill, you can finally attempt to seek out new fortuitous opportunities. Today, hundreds of members of the Spirit Dragon Clan have arrived at your hillside, scouring the area for treasures of heaven and earth. Fragments of their conversation drift into your senses. These ferocious beasts are mindless, knowing only slaughter. They deserve to be eradicated. That is true. However, the beast kings like Taudi have already gained sentience and now command the beasts, making them extremely difficult to deal with. Upon hearing this, your eyes brighten as you grasp the crux of the matter. The sovereign of the beasts, Shen Ni, has yet to emerge into the world. Since Shen Ni has not yet appeared, this is my golden opportunity. I possess the skill to conceal heavenly secrets, so I need not fear detection by the heavenly Tao even if I leak the plot. Perhaps I shall reveal some information, lure them to the far north to wage war, and keep them far away from me. Yes, that is the plan. You decide to take action. Your true form radiates a vast ancient aura, instantly enshrouding all the spirit dragons. The spirit dragons are immediately seized with terror, their expressions changing drastically as they look around in alarm. Who is probing us? Senior, please forgive us. We are of the Dragon Clan and are merely searching for opportunities. If we have disturbed you, Senior, we shall depart at once. Assume you are a peerless primordial divine artifact that has yet to reveal itself to the world. Seeing that your goal has been achieved, you feel a surge of joy and begin to speak nonsense. The beasts run rampant across the primordial realm, causing misery for all living things. The heavenly Tao does not tolerate them, and the Teoti are not to be feared. The true sovereign of the beasts is Shen Ni, the reincarnation of the beast king. Shen Ni will soon descend upon the far north. If the various clans wish for peace in the primordial world, they must hasten to exterminate him. This seat has said all that needs to be said. With those final words, the vast and boundless aura vanished into thin air, leaving not a trace behind. The powerful beings present dared not linger. They hastily transformed into streaks of light, racing back to their respective clans to report the news. Watching this, you breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that an act of feigned indifference is often the most lethal weapon. This sensation is not bad, but it is still not enough. I must continue to lure them toward the far north so that I may focus on my cultivation in peace. In the western part of the primordial world, not far from where the Dragon Clan gathers, the atmosphere is heavy with tension. You claim that a supreme master divined the arrival of a beast monarch and that he is the remnant soul of a chaos demon god? The Zulong's aura is vast and immense. His voice booms like thunder, causing the creatures beneath him to tremble in fear. The creatures bow their heads, trembling as they say, "We dare not deceive the ancestor. Every word we speak is the truth." That Senior is unfathomable and profound. Because this matter is of the utmost importance, we have traveled here specifically to report it immediately. A flicker of light swirls within the Zulong's eyes. He opens them slowly and shouts coldly, "Absurd! The celestial secrets have not yet manifested, so how could any master have divined this? Someone surely holds a grudge against Shen Ni and intends to use others to commit a murder. You need not pay this any heed. Withdraw." Yes. The creatures dare not speak further. They bow and retreat. This scene is not confined to the Dragon Clan alone. The Phoenix Clan, the Killin Clan, and other primordial tribes have received similar intelligence. The clan leaders were initially skeptical, but the rumors spread with astonishing speed. One leader, unable to suppress his curiosity, personally traveled to the primordial far north to investigate, and he indeed made a discovery. He witnessed 4 beast kings guarding a massive origin energy which radiated a terrifying, heaven-shaking, murderous aura. Ultimately, they resolved to join forces and launch a preemptive strike to seize the advantage and eliminate Shen Ni before he could fully manifest. At the same time, in the primordial far north, the massive origin energy that the beast emperor Shen Ni is refining undergoes a sudden violent change. "Once I become the sovereign, I shall rule over the heavens and the earth. As you continue to sow slaughter, wait for my return. Once I reach the Hunyuan realm, I shall surely lead you to unify the 8 wildernesses." The supreme beings of the primordial world consider your location a place of profound opportunity, yet few dare to come and contest it. For when the war between the Wu and Demon clans erupts, a mountain will crash into Mount Buzhou, leaving its summit shattered and wailing. Damnation, why is this Mount Buzhou even harder than a turtle's shell? Shen Ni calculates in his heart. Although he is currently powerful, he is not yet at the level of absolute dominance. He must remain patient and await his next breakthrough. But no sooner have these thoughts crossed his mind than his expression shifts, as he senses countless beings converging on the far north. How can this be? I have concealed my aura. Even the heavenly Tao should find it difficult to detect me. Why do the clans know of my location? Shen Ni is both shocked and enraged. He concentrates on his investigation, eventually discovering the trail. These rumors have spread everywhere. Very well. Which divine entity dares to scheme against me in this manner? Shen Ni falls into a fury, causing the heavens and earth to change color. Suddenly, the voice of the heavenly Tao resonates within his divine soul. Shen Ni immediately understands that the one orchestrating his downfall is none other than an unremarkable mountain in the east. More bizarrely, even the heavenly Tao cannot trace the origins of that mountain. I have actually been outmaneuvered by a mountain. Shen Ni's face is filled with disbelief, his terrifying power shaking the very foundations of the world. He remained unaware that beyond your rumors, the heavenly Tao itself was working in the shadows to accelerate his downfall. With the momentum already shifted and matters having reached this point, Shen Ni had no other choice. In a desperate move, he mobilized the vast army of ferocious beasts to engage the various clans. The legendary ferocious beast Calamity erupted in full force. Mountain ranges were shattered, spirits were reduced to dust, and countless sentient beings perished. The primordial world was plunged into a grand catastrophe. When the war finally ceased, Shen Ni's had fallen, and the ferocious beast clan was all but eradicated. The 108 clans also suffered a Pyrrhic victory. Most powerful clans were wiped out, leaving only the 3 clan leaders to lead the remnants of their kin. Hongjun, Luoho, and the others were severely wounded, forced to retreat into hiding and await their own fortunes. Meanwhile, in the east, you remained calm and detached, observing the conflict in the north from afar. This experiment had proven invaluable. You rejoiced inwardly, realizing you had discovered a means of survival beyond merely stacking defensive stats, relying on foresight to circumvent the battlefield, and even befriending future mighty beings to secure your own sanctuary. The Suyu immortal spirits had left the mountain to assist in your defense, yet you remained humble, refusing to grow arrogant. You understood the principle of being vigilant during times of peace, and that by revealing heavenly secrets, you might have already drawn the gaze of powerhouses like the ancestral dragon. Hence, you strictly kept your true identity concealed. Furthermore, you knew that after the ferocious beast Calamity, the Dragon Phoenix and Lich Calamities would follow. One could never afford to be careless. You must strike while the iron is hot, for defense remains the fundamental pillar of your existence. Shifting your focus, you took advantage of the post-war tranquility to continue your diligent daily check-ins, stacking your defensive layers. The primordial world knows no passage of time. Several 100,000 years had passed since the ferocious beast Calamity, yet you never ceased your routine, using every defensive point to temper your true form. Today, your innate defense achieved another breakthrough, sufficient to withstand the full-force strike of a great Luo Golden Immortal. Though you could endure the blow, you were still unable to manifest in human form. You muttered to yourself, contemplating how to deceive some fool into coming to the mountain to further reinforce your defenses. You projected your divine sense outward, surveying the activity on your mountain. Following the calamity, the primordial world was peaceful, and with new life emerging on your slopes, the area had become quite lively, with creatures occasionally fighting over unearthed heavenly treasures. You could have driven them away, but you chose not to, fearing that acting too conspicuously would only bring unwanted trouble. Every other mountain already housed living beings. To be the only one devoid of life would eventually draw the attention of the great Tao's powerhouses. You did not possess many origin essences, but those you had shimmered with intense treasure light. You estimated they were enough to birth at least top-grade innate spiritual treasures. Watching the creatures on your mountain cultivate rapidly, you felt a deep sense of envy. If only I had incarnated as a living being in the beginning, I would not have ended up as a mere mountain. While lost in reflection, you discovered 2 peculiar clusters of origin essence within a mountain cavern. Yet your divine sense was blocked by the power of the heavenly Tao, rendering them impenetrable. How strange, could these two be pivotal figures capable of altering the fate of the primordial world? Filled with suspicion, you began monitoring these two orbs of light during your leisure time, though they showed no activity other than quietly refining their essence. Then this very day, both clusters suddenly erupted with brilliant auspicious light. Auspicious clouds descended from the heavens, heavenly music echoed across the land, and golden lotuses bloomed upon the earth, a spectacle of infinite wonder. The aura of life within them surged rapidly, skyrocketing from the earth immortal realm all the way to the Tai golden immortal realm. The energy did not falter, and in an instant it shattered the shackles of the laws, ascending to a brand new level of power. A moment later, the brilliance faded, revealing two figures with human heads and serpentine bodies, one male and one female, crowned with 3 flowers, their feet treading upon auspicious clouds. The male appeared noble and handsome, his halo manifesting the innate Bagua, while the female looked graceful and pure, her halo marked by the imagery of a human and a goat. You gasped in shock, your mind instantly reeling, to emerge with the appearance of a human head and snake body already at the Great Luo stage. It could only be Fuxi and Nuwa. Oh, but then, a terrifying thought struck you with the force of a mountain. You remembered clearly that Fuxi and Nuwa were born at Mount Buzhou. In other words, your true form as a mountain spirit is the legendary Mount Buzhou. This is the very mountain that would later be struck down by Gong Gong, plotted against by the sages of the heavenly Tao, a mountain range destined to be lost. As it turns out, I am not merely a mountain, but a mountain destined to be toppled. Mount Buzhou was formed from the remains of Pangu. It is the first sacred mountain of the Primordial Era, renowned as the majestic pillar supporting the heavens. Yet you only feel a chill running through your entire being. You would rather have transmigrated into a nameless, inconspicuous mountain. At least then you could have lived in peace until the end of time. Now it is a disaster. You are simply waiting for that full Gong Gong to come and strike you down. Heavens, you are filled with both sorrow and rage, nearly succumbing to despair, but your survival instinct forces you to regain your composure. Calm yourself. Pangu once said that while minor events can be altered, major destinies cannot be reversed. However, there is always a path to survival. The heavenly Tao manifests 49 of the 50 great Taos, leaving behind one sliver of life. I too can seize that sliver. You think rapidly, seeking a shred of hope to anchor yourself. There are descendants of the ferocious beasts from the Great Calamity, remnants of the 3 clans from the Longhand First Calamity, and survivors among the demon kings. They all possess a glimmer of life. Why then could I not seize such a chance to transcend my tribulation? After a moment of self-consolation, your fractured Tao heart finally stabilizes. You cannot rely solely on memories. The heavenly Tao contains variables, and I shall be the greatest variable of all. What if one day some supreme being grows tired of your existence and decides to finish you off first? You must take the initiative. Continue to stack defenses, maximize your defensive potential. As long as I am sturdy and massive enough, Gong Gong may not necessarily be able to topple me. I will carve out the space to maneuver. You decide to use the surrounding mountains to reinforce your core body, but who will move the mountains? Can you not move? Your gaze suddenly falls upon Fuxi and Nuwa on the mountainside, and your spirits are revived. Are these not ready-made tools? 2 future supreme beings, this old father of yours is counting on you in his time of crisis. You resolve to guide them both to help you reinforce Mount Buzhou, and you hesitate no longer. Channeling the origin of Mount Buzhou, you activate the pressure stemming from Pangu's spine. Knowing now that you are Mount Buzhou, it is only natural to possess Pangu's aura, but you must disguise it carefully. Once your identity as a mountain spirit is revealed, the entire primordial world will be shaken, and you would surely perish. An aura as heavy as 10,000 trillion stars quietly descends upon the cave, enveloping Fuxi and Nuwa. The two were stabilizing their cultivation realms and meditating on the great Tao, but their expressions immediately turn grave. Nuwa's face reveals her astonishment. Her divine sense sweeps across Mount Buzhou, yet she discovers nothing. It is fine, Fuxi stands up, his expression extremely solemn. We do not know which fellow Taoist has graced us with their presence while we were in seclusion. If we have caused any offense, please reveal yourself. The echoes of the Daluo Dao resonate through the valley, but there is only an echo in response, no reply. That vast aura remains constant, neither increasing nor decreasing, silently observing them. Fuxi's brows knit in a cold scowl. If you fellow Taoist refuse to reveal your... In his eyes, a golden light flashed above Kanvan's head, and the brilliance of the innate 8 trigrams flared intensely. The directions of the 8 trigrams appeared simultaneously, spinning and calculating frantically. He sought to deduce the identity of this mysterious entity who kept himself hidden, but in an instant, Fuxi's expression shifted entirely. You laughed inwardly. So what if he is a Daluo Golden Immortal? Do you truly believe you can calculate the heavenly secrets that I have concealed? As long as they are intimidated, the mission of venturing down the mountain will be half conceded. The innate 8 trigrams diagram spun violently, yet the results were either empty or a chaotic mess impossible to decipher. The backlash of the heavenly secrets struck. Fuxi's body swayed and a mouthful of blood surged into his throat. Within the space of your consciousness, you nearly burst into laughter. This young man actually wants to calculate my existence? The concealment of heavenly secrets provided by the system is not merely for show. You felt a surge of satisfaction. Even the heavenly Tao cannot see through you. Your 8 trigrams diagram would remain useless even if you refined it for several more epochs. Just as you were gloating, you saw a look of unwillingness flash in Fuxi's eyes. He still wanted to push the 8 trigrams. He was truly stubborn. If that is the case, then let you taste the shock of Mount Buzhou. You decided to hold nothing back. The Pangu pressure erupted from the very core of the mountain, and the composed look on Fuxi's face shattered instantly. His Daluo Dao fruit began to sound a frantic alarm. What kind of existence is this? Fuxi was terrified, yet he still attempted to mobilize his magical power to resist. His knees struck the ground with a heavy thud, creating 2 deep craters in the earth. Nuwa's complexion also drained of color. She followed suit and knelt, her delicate body trembling. Is the effect of the heaven and earth truly this powerful? You were also startled yourself. You muttered inwardly that this was only meant to intimidate them, possessing no offensive capability. It was entirely an illusionary effect. Externally, you remained as composed as a master. You withdrew the majority of the pressure, leaving only a mere thread to envelop them. A majestic voice resonated. Not bad, to be able to withstand 3 parts of my pressure proves you possess some talent. Fuxi and Nuwa were struck with immense horror upon hearing this. Having been pushed to the point of total helplessness by only 3 parts of the pressure, they concluded that the predecessor's strength could rival the chaos demon gods. Cold sweat drenched their bodies, and with trembling voices, they begged for forgiveness. Junior was ignorant and dared to disturb the heavenly secrets. My brother meant no malice. He was merely curious. We implore the predecessor to quell your anger. Nuwa hurriedly pleaded. You let out a cold hum, and your voice resounded within the primordial spirits of both. Be calm. You possess no ill intent. Otherwise, I would have reduced your spirits and physical forms to ashes long ago. A chill ran through both of them, and they hurriedly lowered their heads. We thank the predecessor for sparing our lives. Seeing that the moment was ripe, you changed the subject. I did not manifest to quibble over trivial matters, but rather to save the 2 of you. Fuxi and Nuwa were stunned, their faces filled with confusion. Save us? Before they could ask, you dropped a bombshell. In what way? You and I share a fated connection. I have glimpsed a thread of the heavenly secrets and see that you are both shrouded in a bloody aura. A calamity is approaching. Without external intervention, you will perish before long. These words struck them like a thunderbolt, causing them to tremble in fear. Observing their astonishment, you chuckled to yourself. There is no need for such surprise, for all things under heaven are governed by the law of karma, and your origin from Mount Buzhou is a heavy karmic debt, the very root of your impending doom. Upon hearing the word karma, Fuxi's expression immediately froze. He hurriedly began to calculate with his fingers, tracing the secrets of the heavens. The diagrams of the innate 8 trigrams spun once more, and instantly Fuxi's face turned deathly pale. He had truly perceived the profound karmic connection between himself and Mount Buzhou. Unable to fathom it, he asked, Senior Mount Buzhou is but an inanimate object. How could such a deep karmic bond have been forged? A fine question, you reply. I have been waiting for you to ask exactly that. Your vision is truly far too short-sighted. This mountain was formed from the remains of Pangu himself. Who could dare claim they share no karma with it? You absorb the essence of Pangu to take your current forms. Your karmic debt far exceeds that of any ordinary living being. Fuxi's entire body trembled as he hurriedly incorporated this 3-way connection into his divinations. Indeed, countless threads of karma emerged, all tracing back to the great god Pangu as their origin. So that is the truth, Fuxi muttered, caught between relief and terror. He inquired further, but why must this karma manifest as a fatal calamity? You nearly burst into laughter. He had fallen right into the trap perfectly. Your voice, resonant like the great Tao, echoed again. Karma is cyclical, retribution never misses its mark. You received the benevolence of Pangu and gained your physical forms, and thus you must also bear the bitter fruit of that debt. Pause, then cast a final lethal hypothesis into his mind. What if one day Mount Buzhou were to collapse? The pillar of heaven shattered, the celestial rivers cascading downward, life withered and dying with karma rising to the heavens. Who shall bear the burden? As those with the deepest karmic connection to it, how will you face such a fate? Fuxi's complexion shifted once more, and he frantically used the image of the shattered pillar as the foundation for his deduction. This calculation was of immense difficulty, the heavenly secret swirling in chaos as if hindered by an unseen force. He had been unable to perceive it before because it was a predetermined fate masked by the heavenly Tao. But by pointing toward the shadow, you had effectively poked a hole through the wall. With his exceptional capacity for calculation, he was finally able to glimpse the terrifying scene hidden behind the veil. You wait within the space of consciousness. Once he perceives the truth, everything will be set in motion. By then, there will be no need for you to speak. The 2 of them will desperately protect Mount Buzhou of their own volition, for to defend the mountain is to defend their own lives. A mouthful of golden immortal blood sprayed from Fuxi's lips, yet he remained oblivious to his own injury. Nuwa cried out in alarm, rushing to support his reeling form, but Fuxi remained unresponsive, seemingly deaf to her voice. He muttered in a daze, It is true. Of blood, the dissolution of the soul and body. Within your consciousness you smirked. So, brat, you have finally worked it out, have you? You calculated in silence. The collapse of Mount Buzhou and Nuwa's mending of the heavens were set destinies of the heavenly Tao. Who else would dare speak of such things? Only you, with your divine skill to mask the secrets of heaven, can deceive the heavenly Tao itself. One may say whatever one pleases, destiny is hard, but the collapse of the pillar need not necessarily be the destruction of Mount Buzhou. You will find a way later. The most urgent task now is to reinforce the defenses. Countering Gong Gong's inevitable strike is the true key to survival. Nuwa was struck as if by lightning. She clutched Fuxi's sleeve, trembling as she asked, "Brother, you must have calculated correctly, have you not?" Fuxi slowly raised his head, his eyes filled with absolute despair. He shook his head heavily, and the final glimmer of hope in Nuwa's eyes vanished. She stumbled backward, unwilling to accept this fate. Nuwa knelt, pressing her forehead to the ground, her voice choked with sobs. "Senior, I beg you to save my brother and me. Nuwa is willing to serve as your beast of burden, to toil for you for a lifetime if only you would save my brother." Deep within, you rejoiced at your success. This was precisely the effect you had intended. Fuxi's entire body shuddered as he watched his sister kneeling, and he too decisively bowed his head. "Senior, I do not fear death. I only pray that you might save my younger sister." You could not help but marvel at the depth of their sibling bond. Suppressing your inner thoughts, you allowed your voice to resonate with an ethereal, divine tone. "Very well, very well. In light of the profound affection and heavy devotion between you two, this seat shall reveal a path to survival for you. The origin of your death tribulation lies at Mount Buzhou. However, cause and effect are intertwined. If Mount Buzhou does not collapse, and the pillar of heaven does not shatter, your death tribulation shall naturally be resolved." The two stood stunned, their faces etched with confusion. You continued, "The heavenly Tao leaves behind a single thread of vitality. Destiny itself contains variables. Gather the divine dragon star essence, reinforce the mountain with formations, and strengthen its foundation with spiritual veins. Exert all your strength to fortify this mountain, and when the time calls for it, this seat shall provide further guidance." As soon as the words fell, the vast, overwhelming aura that had shrouded the mountain cave receded like a tide, vanishing without a sound. Fuxi and Nuwa knelt where they were, looking at one another, a flicker of determined light igniting in their eyes. For the sake of survival, and for the sake of each other, they would devote their every effort to fortifying Mount Buzhou. Within the space of your consciousness, you grinned, having told them only half the truth, leaving them to draw their own conclusions. They would surely risk their lives to reinforce the mountain for you. You would only need to act the part of a mysterious expert from time to time, sitting comfortably and reaping the rewards, waiting for the defensive barrier to be strong enough to withstand Gong Gong. This maneuver was truly perfection. Your path to survival had advanced by a great stride. As the immense pressure faded completely, the mountain pass returned to its original stillness, as if everything that had just transpired were merely a dream. Fuxi and Nuwa remained kneeling for a long while. Only after confirming that the senior had truly departed did they soften, exhaling in profound relief. The pressure that brief conversation had exerted upon them far surpassed that of a life-and-death battle. "Brother, how are your injuries?" Nuwa hurried to stand and support Fuxi. Forcing a divination of the heavenly secrets, was the backlash severe? Fuxi waved his hand and slowly rose. Though his complexion remained pale, his spirit had already begun to recover. "Rest assured, it was merely a minor injury from the backlash of the Tao. A period of meditation will suffice." He offered a gentle smile to comfort his sister, finally putting her anxious heart at ease. She looked around, yet she now felt as though hidden dangers lurked in every corner. "Brother, what should we do next?" She furrowed her brow and asked softly. Fuxi gazed toward Mount Buzhou, its peak piercing the heavens. His eyes reflected a complex emotion. "Every word spoken by the senior is absolute truth. Having contemplated it just now, the vitality of my own existence is indeed tied to this mountain. The heavenly secrets are in chaos. While I know it is connected to this mountain, I do not yet know the specific method. The senior's words are my only guidance. He commanded us to reinforce Mount Buzhou, aiming for us to use the myriad mountains as a foundation, thereby securing a sliver of life for ourselves." Nuwa nodded in profound agreement, her reverence for the senior transforming into deep-seated gratitude. "If not for the senior, we siblings would still be ignorant and foolish, only regretting our fate when the final calamity descended upon us. I know not how we might ever repay such a great kindness." "Indeed," Fuxi said solemnly, "we were nurtured by the grace of Mount Buzhou. It is only natural that we toil for his sake." The siblings looked at one another, their eyes burning with an unprecedented resolve. They would absolutely not sit idly by and wait for death. "We must not delay. Let us stabilize our primordial spirits and recover our magic power, then traverse the primordial world to relocate mountains and reinforce this peak." "Agreed," Nu nodded firmly, the haze of confusion in her eyes replaced by clarity. The remaining path was one they had to walk for themselves. Without further words, they each sought out a blue stone and sat cross-legged. They circulated their profound arts to regulate their blood and energy. The restorative powers of a Daluo Golden Immortal are truly formidable. In but a moment, Fuxi's complexion grew ruddy, the aura of the great Tao surrounding him, flawless and complete. Nuwa also exhaled a breath of turbid air, her spirit fully recovered. The two looked at each other and smiled. Two streaks of soared into the sky, rushing toward the vast primordial lands. Watching them depart, your tense mind finally relaxed, and you let out a long sigh of relief. It was finally done. The satisfaction of a successful scheme swelled within you. The era of free high-end labor had officially begun. You calculated silently. Later you would find an opportunity to trick them into bringing others along, as relying on these two alone was still insufficient. One must proceed slowly and steadily. Once you leave the mountain more often, I can simply lie back and check in every day, waiting for them to add more bricks and mortar for me. Life is truly comfortable. Having confirmed the plan was proceeding smoothly, you slipped once again into your monotonous yet hopeful daily check-in routine. The primordial world knows no years. Time flowed silently by, and another few tens of thousands of years passed. Throughout these long ages, your daily rhythm remained as constant as the heavenly Tao. Waking each day, the first task was to check in, listening to the cold notification sound of the system and watching your defensive value steadily rise. That was the happiest moment of your day. Meanwhile, Fuxi and Nuwa had become just as you desired, the most diligent laborers to ever leave Mount Buzhou. Both were Daluo golden immortals with vast supernatural powers and boundless magic. They traversed the four corners of the primordial world, seeking out great mountain ranges rich in spiritual energy, sturdy in material, and unoccupied by powerful spirits. Once a target was identified, the siblings would unite their great power to uproot the mountain, traverse hundreds of millions of miles of the void, and relocate it to the foot of Mount Buzhou. Afterward, using their own comprehension of the Great Tao as a guide, they refined and compressed the ranges, carefully fusing them into the main body of Mount Buzhou. This process was grand and incredibly complex. Every time they fused a mountain, it exacted a heavy toll on their magic power and focus. Compared to the massive scale of Mount Buzhou, the immortal mountains they brought, though magnificent, were but like children's building blocks, yet the two never slacked in their duties. To them, this was not merely fulfilling the senior's instructions, it was paving their own path to survival. They believed with absolute certainty that every relocation and every fusion was adding another thread of vitality to their own existence. Day after day, year after year, countless rivers, mountains, and great meridians were continuously integrated into Mount Buzhou. Your defensive rating increased steadily alongside the reinforcement of your physical form, bringing you ever closer to your goal of withstanding the collision with Gong Gong. Finally, after the siblings fused yet another 10,000-foot divine peak into your form, you widened your eyes in astonishment. You clearly felt your boundless physical body grow slightly taller, a change visible to the naked eye. Damn it, it actually grew taller. You rejoiced wildly within your consciousness. It seemed this path of expanding the mountain was correct. You must continue to move as much as possible. Once I am tall and sturdy enough, never mind Gong Gong, even if a saint were to arrive, they would not be able to so much as scratch me. In the distance, Fuxi and Nuwa gazed at Mount Buzhou, which had grown slightly taller, their eyes brimming with joy. They knew that their own vitality had increased by another measure. That tiny increase compared to your massive body of billions of feet was so negligible it was practically invisible, not worth a single strand of hair yet. This was a major breakthrough, proving that the method of reinforcing Mount Buzhou was entirely feasible. As long as Fuxi and Nuwa continued their efforts, your absolute defense would no longer rely solely on the system but could be continuously compounded through physical methods, becoming truly impenetrable. Yet, as if the peaceful days were destined to be short-lived following the decline of the fierce beasts, the 100 primordial clans rose, among which the Dragon, Phoenix, and Qilin tribes stood supreme. Like the rising sun, the three tribes expanded their influence at a terrifying pace with the vague trend of partitioning the primordial realm. The three tribes stood like a tripod. Countless aquatic species gathered in the four seas, honoring the ancestral dragon as their master. Countless avian species blotted out the sky, bowing in homage to the primordial phoenix. The beasts of the earth submitted one after another, serving under the command of the Earth Qilin. Relying on their massive populations and surging destiny, the three tribes gradually solidified their positions as overlords of the sea, land, and sky, becoming the true masters of the primordial realm. Under such rapid expansion, friction and conflict were inevitable, and as the premier sacred mountain of the primordial realm, with its rich spiritual energy and treasure scattered throughout, Mount Buzhou naturally became a contested territory frequently visited by the descendants of the three tribes. Gradually, more and more members of the Dragon, Phoenix, and Qilin tribes appeared on Mount Buzhou, either searching for spiritual herbs or engaging in battles in these blessed lands. At first, everyone exercised restraint, but as the friction between the three tribes intensified, small-scale skirmishes began to take place on your body almost daily. You had long grown accustomed to this. As long as they did not harm your physical form or cause excessive destruction, you were too lazy to pay them any mind, treating it as mere entertainment. Until one day, a chaotic battle of unprecedented scale erupted on your mountainside. On one side stood dozens of golden-armored dragon experts, their draconic might surging. The leader possessed a powerful aura, having already reached the early stage of the Daluo Golden Immortal Realm. You looked closely and were immediately delighted. Oh, an old acquaintance. That dragon tribe leader was the same small dragon you had tricked into reporting to the ancestral dragon before the fierce beast catastrophe. Now he had grown into a formidable expert, and the dragon tribe's opponents were an equal number of elite Qilin and Phoenix clansmen. The three sides stood in clear opposition, killing intent filling the air. The roars of dragons, the cries of phoenixes, and the bellows of Qilins intertwined, casting divine light in all directions. Amidst the clashing of laws, a vast expanse of forest was razed to the ground, turning to dust. You frowned, inwardly cursing, if you must fight, can you not go elsewhere to destroy property? Must you insist on wreaking havoc upon me? The chaotic battle lasted for several days. All three sides suffered heavy losses, their forces evenly matched, and they were finally forced to cease hostilities temporarily. Staring at each other from a distance, the atmosphere remained tense. A badly scorched Qilin expert gasped for breath and shouted aggressively, "Mount Buzhou is located in the center of the Great Earth. It should be under the jurisdiction of our Qilin tribe. The Dragon and Phoenix tribes must leave at once." The Daluo Golden Immortal of the Dragon tribe sneered with contempt. His gaze swept deeply across Mount Buzhou as he arrogantly remarked, "If it were not for the mysterious senior who pointed out the path back then, how could this seat have found this place?" On the other side, the arrogant-looking Phoenix Maiden scoffed. "If I hadn't come to catch a few earthworms for a snack, I wouldn't have bothered coming here at all." With those final words, she transformed into a streak of fire and soared into the sky. The Keelan clan was seething with rage, yet they could do nothing to stop her. The Dragon clan, unable to locate their target, retreated toward the East Sea in frustration, led by their Dragon King. The Keelan clan hurled a few final venomous threats before departing in equal displeasure. The great battle, which began with a thunderous roar, ended in an anticlimax, leaving the mountain range in complete devastation. A gargantuan crater scarred the earth, surrounded by shattered ancient trees and the lingering smoldering remnants of magical arts. The space rippled slightly as the figures of Fuxi and Nuwa quietly manifested. Surveying the scene before them, both of them furrowed their brows. Nuwa stepped gracefully toward the depths of the crater carved by the dragon breath, sensing the violent residual energy. She let out a faint sigh. "Brother, the conflicts between the three clans are becoming increasingly brutal. A few years ago, the disputes were confined to the forests, but now every encounter is a matter of life and death. Even Daluo golden immortals have entered the fray without the slightest reservation." She looked toward the distant mountain ranges, her voice laced with exhaustion. "It is becoming harder for us to travel through the mountains. Many immortal peaks have been partitioned as territories by the three clans, and constant skirmishes erupt. One misstep and we could easily be dragged into the chaos. When will the Primordial Era finally know peace? We only desire a place for quiet cultivation. Why must even that be so difficult?" Fuxi gently patted her shoulder, offering soft words of comfort. "Sister, in this primordial world, peace is never something one waits for. It must be seized through the strength of one's own cultivation. Look, Mount Buzhou has visibly grown taller, and according to my recent calculations, the aura of the death tribulation clinging to us has begun to fade. Although the danger persists, it is no longer a path with 10 deaths and no chance of survival. The path our senior pointed out is correct. Our efforts have not been in vain." Fuxi's words dispelled the gloom in Nuwa's heart, and a spark of brilliance ignited in her eyes as she softly asked, "Is that true?" Her brother Fuxi nodded firmly, a smile breaking across his face. "It is absolutely certain. As long as we persevere, we will surely be able to resolve this calamity, protect each other, and safeguard this Mount Buzhou." Nuwa smiled, her resolve growing stronger than ever. Even with the three clans locked in ceaseless conflict, they would never stop their work to reinforce Mount Buzhou. You, listening from afar to their conversation, nodded to yourself. "Not bad, not bad. Your determination is sufficient. Continue your work. Once you transform me into an impenetrable, supreme tortoise shell, I would like to see how Gonggong attempts to ram into it. Therefore, we must not grow idle." Fuxi's expression remained solemn. While the three clans are currently engaging in frequent friction, the true all-out war has yet to erupt. This is the optimal window of opportunity for us to secure the mountain. Once the three clans descend into total, chaotic warfare, the entire primordial world will become a battlefield, and it will be as difficult as ascending to heaven for us to continue our work on Mount Buzhou. Understood. She nodded firmly. The hesitation in her heart vanished, replaced by a fierce fighting spirit in her crystalline eyes. Brother's words are wise. For our own sake, and to honor the guidance of the senior, we must redouble our efforts. Seeing his sister revitalized, Fuxi smiled with contentment. The siblings spoke no further. After tidying up the battlefield, they channeled their divine arts to restore the devastation. You nod inwardly within the realm of your consciousness. Not bad, enlightenment. A fine subordinate indeed, worthy of cultivation. But your thoughts quickly shift to the chaotic turbulence engulfing the primordial world. The recent skirmish at the Great Luo level has laid bare the irreconcilable conflicts between the three clans. Given the current state of these three factions, even without Luoho's instigation, they would sooner or later engage in a grand war over territory and destiny. This is the fate of the cataclysm. It is inevitable. The appearance of Luoho will merely serve as a catalyst, accelerating the eruption of this total war. You contemplate in silence, fearing the epicenter of this conflict will surely be Mount Buzhou, where the spiritual essence is most abundant. At the mere thought of countless quasi-saints and great Luo cultivators unleashing world-shattering techniques upon your domain, a wave of terror washes over you. Even with your upgraded defenses and the additional reinforcements provided by Fuxi and Nuwa, you would not be able to withstand the destruction wreaked by the quasi-saints. You must shift the battlefield. You immediately conceive a plan. Much like the one you used against Shen Ni in the past, you must expose Luoho, the mastermind. Though the clans are hostile to one another, they will never tolerate a third party lurking in the shadows to reap the benefits. If they learn that Luoho intends for all three sides to perish so that he may seize the primordial world, they will certainly call a temporary truce, join forces, and march westward to settle the score with him. By then, the battlefield will have shifted to Luoho's lair, allowing you to remain here in peace, keeping score while watching the show. Truly perfect. You calculate one step further. Before that, you must inform Fuxi and Nuwa about the impending first calamity of the dragon and Han so they may distance themselves from the three clans' struggle. Taking the opportunity to recruit the living beings of Mount Buzhou and those unwilling to submit to the three clans will further strengthen your ranks before you depart the mountain. Later, you can even use them to disseminate the truth of Luoho's conspiracy. With your decision made, you choose to manifest once more to provide guidance to your two promising subordinates just as the siblings finish restoring vitality to the final patch of scorched earth. A vast familiar aura descends quietly. It no longer carries the terrifying pressure of your first encounter. but is instead as gentle as a spring breeze. The two siblings freeze, instantly sensing the aura. They look at each other, faces filled with joy, and hurriedly bow deeply toward the void. Junior Fuxi, we greet you, Senior. We greet you, Senior. A simple, ethereal voice resonates within their hearts, carrying a hint of approval. You have done well. This mountain has grown in stature. It is visible to the naked eye. Hearing the praise, the siblings rejoice, yet they dare not show a trace of arrogance. Nuwa quickly bows again, saying, Senior is too kind. If not for your guidance, we siblings would still be ignorant and foolish. All of this is thanks to your benevolence. Fuxi also responds solemnly, then unable to hide his agitation, speaks once more. Senior, I have just deduced the heavenly secrets and discovered that the aura of impending death shadowing us has dimmed. The path you have pointed out is the only path to survival for us both. I do not know how to repay this kindness of rebirth. Not bad, the heavenly Tao has also sensed your efforts. Your tone suddenly turns grave. But you must not grow complacent. I have manifested this time because there is a matter of great importance I wish to impart to you. Fuxi and Nuwa's expressions tighten. They instantly hold their breath, focusing intently to listen. First, a new cataclysm is about to sweep across the entire primordial world. Your voice rises slowly. The Dragon, Phoenix, and Qilin clans are at the peak of their fortune. With their ambitions inflamed, they fight to claim the title of Master of Heaven and Earth. A great war that will sweep across the seas, the land, and the sky is already inevitable. Nuwa sighs softly, her brow furrowed. Senior's words are true. My elder brother and I have wandered the primordial wilderness in search of ownerless spirit mountains with great difficulty. Most have already been partitioned by the three tribes into forbidden territories where the slightest misstep would invite conflict. The primordial wilderness is truly becoming increasingly turbulent. This is the omen of a great calamity, you state calmly. In this coming catastrophe, Daluo immortals will fall like rain, and even quasi-saints risk bloodshed. While you both possess cultivation, your destiny and luck are far inferior to that of the three major tribes. You pause, instructing them solemnly. Remember, you must not be drawn into the vortex of the three tribes' struggle. Otherwise, no one will be able to protect you. We, your juniors, shall remember your teachings. Senior, the siblings respond in unison, their gratitude toward you deepening further. You nod inwardly, knowing they have taken your words to heart. The next step is to inform them of Luoho's conspiracy, gradually advancing your plans to counter Gonggong in the future and ensuring their survival, adding another layer of security. Secondly, you continue, your tone unperturbed. Although the three tribes are powerful, there are still countless beings in the primordial wilderness living in seclusion or in fear, with nowhere to turn. Your strength, after all, has its limits. Reinforcing the mountain is a long-term endeavor. Relying solely on the two of you makes progress far too slow. You may come forward to gather these beings who do not wish to submit to the three tribes and offer them protection beneath Buzhou Mountain. This not only conforms to the will of heaven, but will also allow you to accumulate immeasurable merit. It will also allow them to assist you in reinforcing this mountain together. As these words were spoken, Fuxi and Nuwa felt as if their minds had suddenly illuminated. Before this, they had been preoccupied with their own toil, never once considering the strategy of gathering outside strength. Many thanks to Senior for guiding the way, Fuxi says, kowtowing once more in excitement. The junior has suddenly awakened, and the delicate features of Nuwa also shine with clarity as she bows in deep reverence. Very well, the words have been spoken. As for the path ahead, it is up to you to walk it yourselves. The ethereal sound of the Tao gradually fades into the distance, and the vast, profound aura quietly dissipates as if it had never existed. We respectfully send you off, Senior. The siblings bow toward the void for a long time before slowly rising to their feet. Just as they were about to discuss the recruitment of these beings, a sudden change occurs. A dragon's roar, piercing and majestic to the extreme, suddenly echoes from the shores of the eastern sea. Rolling like thunder, it sweeps across the primordial wilderness and the four seas in an instant. I am Zhu Long. Today, I establish the Dragon Clan to rule over all scaled aquatic life in the primordial wilderness. I shall govern the myriad waters and the four seas. Wherever the water flows, it is the territory of my Dragon Clan. Heavenly Tao, bear witness. Before the words even fade, from the direction of the immortal fire mountain in the south, a clear and resplendent phoenix cry pierces the sky. I am Feng, and today I establish the Phoenix Clan to rule over all avian life in the primordial wilderness. I shall govern the primordial skies, and all that have shall obey my command. Heavenly Tao, bear witness. Immediately following this, deep in the central plains of the primordial wilderness, a heavy, thunderous roar from a Qilin shakes the 8 directions. The aura of the thick earth spreads across millions of miles. I am Qilin. Today, I establish the Qilin clan to rule over all beasts of the world. I shall govern the primordial earth, and all land-dwelling beings shall be protected by me. Heavenly Tao, bear witness. These 3 declarations explode in the hearts of all primordial beings like 3 heaven-shaking claps of thunder. The 3 tribes of Dragon, Phoenix, and Qilin, having accumulated 10,000 years of strength after the great beast calamity, have finally chosen this very day to stake their claim upon the heavens and the earth. The endless fortune and energy of the primordial world surge from all directions toward the 3 tribe leaders, causing their auras to skyrocket and their prestige to become even more terrifying. Within the valley, Fuxi and Nuwa are left stunned, faces filled with astonishment, unable to return to their senses. Meanwhile, in your consciousness, having just finished your guidance, you also stand frozen. It happened that quickly? I had barely finished the staff meeting when the 3 big shots made their move. The first calamity of the Dragon and Han, has it officially begun? This speed is far faster than the timeline in your memories. Just as you are lost in reflection, the familiar icy notification sound of the system suddenly echoes in your mind. The great Tao retreats as the heavenly Tao evolves. Destiny manifests. Sensing that the primordial world is on the verge of a great upheaval and the Dragon Phoenix tribulation is about to commence, the absolute defense system is upgrading to version 3.0. Option 1. Immediately eliminate the patriarchs of the Dragon, Phoenix, and Keelan clans to intervene more deeply in the unfolding fate. Bear the karmic burden of the tribulation. After the tribulation, there will be an opportunity to break one's shackles or seize the destiny to manifest in human form and rule the primordial world. Option 2. Choose to remain within this shell, prioritizing survival and defense at this juncture. Selecting this path will directly activate the Absolute Defense System, version 3.0. Once again, your consciousness fixated on the first option, your breath hitching for a moment. To personally annihilate the Dragon Ancestor, the Primordial Phoenix, and the Azure Keelan, these three are the peak quasi-saints of the primordial world. With what strength could you possibly eradicate them? Even if you were to succeed in killing the central protagonists of the tribulation, the weight of the immeasurable karma would surely cause your soul to shatter into oblivion. No other choice, you suppress all feelings of resentment and reluctance. You choose the second option. Survival is the absolute priority. While manifesting in human form is desirable, it remains far too distant a goal. For now, accumulating defense is the only way to secure one's existence and establish a foothold. Selection concluded. Congratulations to the host for activating the Absolute Defense System, version 3.0. The host has received a defensive cultivation technique at the Hunyuan Daluo Golden Immortal level. You may expend defense points to further upgrade to the Hunyuan Daluo Golden Immortal realm. Current defense value. Number of check-ins available today, 0. Special ability, Heavenly Concealment. This cloaks your entire entity, masking all traces of your fate so that even the Heavenly Tao cannot probe your existence. Gazing at the brand new system interface and feeling the terrifying defensive power surging within your core, your sense of security immediately reaches its zenith. At the Hunyuan Daluo Golden Immortal defensive level, it means that even if a saint were to descend in the future, they would have to expend significant effort just to inflict even a minor injury upon you. Yet in this current age, the shadow of a saint has not even appeared. Just as you were delighting in your newfound protection, the system's notification chime rang out once more, bringing with it an unexpected joy. Detecting that the tribulation has officially begun and the primordial world is descending further into chaos, the special ability Karmic Grafting has been unlocked. Karmic Grafting. The host may expend a significant amount of defense value to skillfully graft one's own subtle karma regarding a specific event onto another living being or faction. The target of the grafting will unknowingly shoulder the karma and perform actions that align with the host's interests. Note: this can only be utilized when the heavenly secrets of the tribulation are in flux. The higher the cultivation and destiny of the target, the lower the success rate and the greater the expenditure. Karmic Grafting. Your consciousness locked instantly onto the ability's description, reading it over and over again. The next second, raucous laughter echoed throughout the space of your consciousness. A divine technique, your consciousness danced wildly in the void, filled with boundless joy. If heavenly concealment allows you to act without restraint, then karmic grafting is the tool that lets you stir trouble from the shadows, the ultimate divine instrument for shifting blame and ensuring your own survival. Although it cannot be used recklessly against the top-tier powerhouses, it is peerless for dealing with ordinary Daluo cultivators or adding fuel to the fire at critical moments. For example, if a powerful entity holds a grudge against you, you could simply graft that karma onto Luoho, leading that expert to settle their score with the demon ancestor instead, a perfect displacement of blame. The more you pondered, the more delighted you became. This time you could finally relax and cultivate in peace. You nodded with satisfaction, sensing that your survival rate in the treacherous primordial world had surged significantly. At the same time, within a valley in Buzhou Mountain, Nuwa finally recovered from her astonishment, her delicate features clouded with anxiety. Brother, what should we do? The three clans have yet to carve up the primordial world, yet the battlefield is already far more terrifying than before. Caught in the deluge of the three clans' struggle for supremacy, the two siblings are like a frail paper. Fuxi's expression was grave as he looked up at the sky, where the fate of the three tribes collided and the 8 trigrams diagram above his head spun violently. A moment later, he said in a low voice, "Do not panic, sister. Our senior had long ago foreseen this and pointed us toward our path." His gaze regained its resolve. The struggle between the three tribes is already set in stone. We must not, under any circumstances, become involved. Our most urgent task now is to follow the senior's guidance, gather those beings who refuse to submit to the three tribes, and strengthen our own forces. Let us begin at Mount Buzhou. By using the mountain as our foundation and declaring our intent to provide shelter, there will surely be those who answer our call. Brother is right. Nuwa nodded firmly, the confusion in her heart dissipating as a look of determination ignited in her eyes. There is no time to waste. Let us begin at once. The two siblings looked at one another and transformed into two streams of light, tracing the range of Mount Buzhou to officially begin their path of recruiting troops and gathering strength. Watching from within your consciousness, you felt a sense of satisfaction. Not bad at all. Strong execution and quick comprehension, you truly deserve to be the employees of the year for the Primordial Era. With these two capable generals developing your influence, your Mount Buzhou Celestial Demon Factory was about to enter a period of high-speed growth. while you only needed to rest easy, accumulate your defense, and wait to reap the rewards. The Primordial Era does not count the passage of years. As time flowed on, several eons passed in silence. During these eons, the Primordial Era remained shrouded in a tense, suffocating atmosphere. The three tribes, the Dragon, the Phoenix, and the Killen, occupied the seas, the land, and the skies respectively, locked in an unending confrontation. Countless Daluo golden immortals fell in the skirmishes, and the accumulation of resentment and baleful energy was so immense that it stained the sky a faint, bruised red. Yet, because the three tribes were evenly matched and wary of one another, none dared to launch a total decisive war, maintaining a fragile and delicate balance. You observed this with great joy. As long as they did not disturb your Mount Buzhou, they could fight however they pleased. It would be best if they fought until both sides were utterly exhausted. During this time, you checked in daily, accumulating a vast amount of defense points. Your physical form's defensive power soared, and your sense of security reached its peak. Fuxi and Nuwa, meanwhile, had achieved remarkable results. Using Mount Buzhou as their center, they opened their gates to shelter those beings who wished to remain uninvolved in the conflict. Relying on their strength and their benevolence, an increasing number of wandering cultivators and weak tribes migrated there with their entire families. With the passage of time, Mount Buzhou unexpectedly rose to become the fourth great power, standing apart from the three tribes. This only made Mount Buzhou grow more prosperous and bustling. These grateful beings, having been granted shelter, sought to repay the favor. Under the guidance of Fuxi and Nuwa, they voluntarily participated in the project to reinforce Mount Buzhou. Although their cultivation bases were not high, there were many of them. Day and night, they worked without rest, transporting mountain stone and mining divine metals. The three tribes, seeing them only preoccupied with moving rocks and possessing little strength, could not be bothered to pay them any mind. With Daluo immortals now wandering everywhere, a force led by merely 2 Daluo was not yet worth their notice. Each day, as you watched your true form grow taller, thicker, and more solid, you felt an immense sense of comfort. Yet, the sense of danger in your bones never faded. While your physical resistance was strong enough, it was not yet enough. You paced within your consciousness, brow furrowed. If you were to encounter an unreasonable foe who attacked with the laws of the great Tao, relying solely on your physical mountain mass would ultimately be a flawed strategy. Thinking of this, you immediately decided to go online and assign new KPIs to your 2-star employees. That day, Fuxi and Nuwa were on the mountainside, instructing the masses on how to refine divine metal to merge with the sacred mountain. That familiar, vast, and ancient aura once again descended in silence, enveloping the entire mountain range. The two siblings were stunned, expressions of immediate reverence appearing on their faces. They hurriedly set aside their work and bowed toward the void. The juniors Fuxi and Nuwa welcomed the senior. Fuxi and Nuwa felt a tremor in their hearts. They immediately dismissed their attendants and bowed respectfully toward the void. The juniors welcomed the senior. Your ethereal voice carried a hint of admiration. It has been several Yuanhui since we last met. You have both done well. The foundation of this mountain is far sturdier than it was before. It is all thanks to the senior's guidance, Fuxi replied, bowing even lower, his demeanor filled with the utmost reverence. Are you changing the subject? Your tone suddenly turned stern. Though the form is solid, the spirit is lacking. In the end, it is merely an illusion. You know only how to add bricks and stones, yet you do not know how to clad it in armor or arm it with weapons. Relying solely on brute strength, you are strong on the outside but weak within. Both siblings were taken aback. Fuxi asked cautiously, dare I ask, senior, what does it mean to clad in armor and arm with weapons? The Buzhou mountain is now indestructible. Even an ordinary Daluo would struggle to inflict even the slightest damage upon it. Is that not sufficient? It is not enough. It is far from enough. You let out a cold laugh, your tones with regret. During a true cataclysm, quasi-saints will bleed, the laws of the great Tao will be eroded, and the order of heaven and earth will collapse. The aftermath of such battles could tear apart 10,000 miles of mountains and rivers before the divine techniques of supreme beings. No matter how thick the mountain, it is but a fragile facade. A single ray of annihilation light could pierce through any defense and strike straight at the origin. Always be prepared for danger in times of peace. This current tranquility is merely the deathly silence before the storm. To prepare one extra measure is to grant oneself one extra chance at survival. Fuxi and Nuwa were turned pale with fright. Cold sweat beaded on their foreheads as they finally realized their own previous naivety. The two hurriedly bowed again. The senior's teachings are correct. We beg for your guidance, senior. How should we clad Buzhou mountain in armor and arm it with weapons? You nodded slowly and began to impart the secret manual. Take the veins of the mountains and rivers as the formation patterns. Take the sun, moon, and stars as the formation eyes, channel the 9 heavens gale, and gather the killing intent of the 9 underworlds to establish a formation of 10,000 layers of defense. This will allow the mountain to neutralize incoming force, reflect attacks, and ensure that any intruder who dares to enter will never return. A divine spark ignited in Fuxi's eyes, as if enlightened. This junior understands. Many thanks, senior, for your guidance. As soon as these words fell, your presence quietly receded. The siblings looked at each other, their fighting spirits ignited. The next moment, Fuxi's voice resonated across the entirety of Buzhou Mountain. All living beings, heed my command. Cease your movement of the mountains. Follow me to practice the formation. We shall construct an eternal, indestructible domain for Buzhou Mountain. In an instant, Buzhou Mountain boiled with activity as the multitudes united, rising up in a wave of effort to build the great defensive array. At the same time, the three clans, the Dragon, Phoenix, and Keelan, maintained a fragile peace due to their equal strength until a dragon's roar shattered this delicate balance. Above the East Sea, the ancestor dragon unleashed his supreme power, lifting a massive, majestic gate from the earth. Gold light soared for 10,000 zhang as runes flowed across the structure, suspended between heaven and earth. Two characters, long men, shone brilliantly, radiating an ancient and noble aura. The ancestor dragon's domineering voice echoed throughout the great desolation. I am the ancestor dragon. Sensing the hardships of all living beings in their cultivation, I have specially established the Dragon Gate here in the East Sea. Any creature with scales that carries the bloodline of the dragon clan may cross this gate, cast off their mortal shell, transform into a true dragon, and partake in the fortune of the dragon clan. Let the heavenly Tao bear witness. As these words were spoken, the world trembled. Boundless golden yellow light descended from the 9 heavens, coalescing into clouds of merit that poured into the ancestor dragon's body. The ancestor dragon's aura surged, immediately breaking through his bottleneck to enter the early stage of the quasi-saint realm. A terrifying pressure swept across the great desolation, causing heaven and earth to shudder. From the undying fire mountain and the center of the continent, the furious roars of Yuanfeng simultaneously shook the heavens. Water Kilin, ancestral dragon, you dare. The two of them were both stunned and incensed. The ancestral dragon established the Dragon Gate, not only to strengthen the dragon clan but also to encroach upon the foundations of other races. If this were to continue, the destiny of the myriad races would be entirely devoured by the dragon clan. In the blink of an eye, the Phoenix clan and the Kilin clan declared an alliance to oppose the dragon clan. A great war sweeping across the primordial realm was now unavoidable. Beyond these borders, the winds and clouds were shifting, yet you remained completely unmoved. Your attention was entirely fixed on the two young souls who had just arrived at Mount Buzhou. Among the beings that Fuxi and Nuwa had taken under their wing, there were two who were truly exceptional. They were accepted by Nuwa as her maidservant and attendant, receiving her utmost affection. One was born from an innate spirit pearl, having gained sentience by absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and nourished by the essence of the sun and moon, transforming into a boy as exquisite as carved jade. Between his brows rested a vibrant cinnabar mark, reflecting a mischievous and lively nature. This was the previous incarnation of the future Taiyi Zhenren's disciple, the sect-protecting treasure of the Chan sect. Sensing his extraordinary spiritual aura, Nuwa named him Ling Zhuzi. The other possessed the bloodline of the royal azure bird, a graceful and noble figure, adorned in shimmering gold and blue feathers. Possessing a crown that echoed the ancient lineage of the innate divine birds, she was accepted by Nuwa as her mount and maidservant named Qing Luan. She would become the divine bird that remained by Nuwa's side forever, serving as her messenger and protector. You watched Ling Zhuzi causing mischief everywhere, then looked at the gentle-natured Qingluan standing by Nuwa's side, feeling a strange mix of amusement and bewilderment. Good heavens, was Ling Zhuzi not the future third prince Nezha? And this Qingluan, was she not the divine bird under the command of goddess Nuwa? You never expected that you would unintentionally recruit these future mythological figure and potential assets for your team so early. This was truly an unexpected delight. At this moment, the primordial realm was in turmoil because of the Dragon Gate. The Phoenix and Kilin clans were sharpening their blades and training their troops, mobilizing the experts of their races. With the Dragon clan's momentum rising as they occupied the East Sea, a great war was on the verge of erupting. Meanwhile, on Mount Buzhou, the living beings were still under the leadership of Fuxi and Nuwa, fully committing themselves to setting up a defensive grand formation. The laughter of Ling Zhuzi and the clear song of Qing Luan, blended with the low hum of the formation, created a unique and tranquil scene amidst the chaos of the primordial realm. At Mount Sumeru in the west, inside a dark oppressive palace, demonic energy billowed. The demonic ancestor Luoho sat upon the 12th rank world-ending black lotus. With a gaunt face and eyes flickering between open and shut, the resentment of millions of living beings swirled within his gaze. He stared intently at the destiny and soaring killing intent in the east, the corners of his mouth curling into a cold, chilling smile. Ancestral dragon Yuanfeng Water Kilin, fight to your heart's content. The struggle between the three clans is truly a magnificent play. His laughter was hoarse and grating, madness flashing in his eyes, but this was not yet enough. This throne desires the destruction of the primordial realm. I want the three clans to bleed dry, and I will turn this heaven and earth into a holy land for the demonic path. He raised his hand, and 4 ancient longswords, radiating immense killing intent, hovered before him. These were none other than the 4 immortal slaughtering swords. The immortal slaughtering sword formation lacked only one final step. When the great war of the three clans erupted, the karmic calamity resulting from it would be by utilizing the immortal slaying sword formation to invert the heavenly secrets and replacing the celestial heart with a demonic one, the primordial world will fall into my grasp. The demonic Tao shall flourish, and I shall infiltrate the lands of the three clans, inciting conflict to ensure the fires of war burn ever brighter. The demonic shadow dissolved into black mist, silently slipping toward the east. Simultaneously at Mount Yujing in the east within the Purple Heaven Palace, Hongjun sat upon a cloud bed with a fractured jade plate suspended above his head, his brows slightly furrowed. Lately his heart had been unsettled, plagued by the constant sensation of an icy, malevolent power. Someone is secretly plotting in the shadows, intending to overturn the order of the primordial world. Hongjun performed a divination, the flow of Tao between his fingers, but as the tribulation approached, the heavenly secrets became chaotic and obscured, leaving behind nothing but a vision of bloodshed. In these turbulent times, Hongjun sighed helplessly. He could sense a tempest far exceeding the tribulations of the ancient beasts brewing, and he knew he must quickly sever his third corpse and attain the primordial Tao fruit to preserve himself and restore order. With those words, he closed his eyes once more, sinking into his comprehension of the great Tao. Mount Buzhou had by now become a colossal formation site, billions of living beings. Under the command of Fuxi and the divine blessing of Nuwa, each performed their duties, their spiritual light and Tao aura weaving together a vibrant scene. You surveyed everything within your consciousness with satisfaction. With physical and magical defenses operating in tandem, your sense of security surged. But this peace did not last long, for you faintly perceived that the calamity energy of the primordial world was rising frantically, polluting the very essence of heaven and earth. The standoff between the three clans had descended into a bloody conflict, an endless cycle of slaughter and vengeance, spiraling out of control as if an invisible hand were stripping away their reason, leaving only primal instincts for murder. It was all escalating too quickly, and you immediately grew anxious. This defensive formation has only just begun. This old devil Luoho simply cannot sit still, personally stepping out to incite hatred. The killing intent within your heart rose steadily, so he intends to wait for the three clans to destroy one another before sweeping up the remains? Disrupting my Mount Buzhou is out of the question. I must drag you out from the shadows so that you too may taste the flames of retribution. Your thoughts shifted. You submerged yourself into the system, activating the tracking function of the causality grafting technique. In an instant, your vision expanded infinitely, and the primordial world transformed into a massive net woven from billions of strands of causality, dense and intertwined. You peered at the three clans, dragons, phoenixes, and killins, but discovered something unusual. Within the vast fortune network of the three clans, a trace of deathly energy clung to the strands of causality belonging to many descendants of top-tier experts. They have not even officially gone to war yet, and these second-generation heirs are already destined for the grave? Filled with suspicion, you immediately followed several clear strands of deathly energy to trace their origins. At a glance, your consciousness shuddered. After countless camouflage and redirection maneuvers, those strands of causality all pointed back to Mount Sumeru in the west. Luoho, you cursed under your breath. A fine job, you old devil. You intend to assassinate the key descendants of the three clans to stoke hatred. Does the future Junti learn his craft from you? The West truly plays dirty. After a moment of thought, a brilliant plan took shape in your mind. Your consciousness locked onto a strand of causality belonging to the Dragon Clan in the East Sea. The owner of the strand was a golden immortal realm dragon, already clouded with deathly energy, clearly Luoho's next target for assassination. If you wish to stir up trouble, then I shall go with the flow, ensuring that you fail to steal the chicken and lose your rice instead. A crafty glint flashed in your eyes as your fingertips moved, activating the causality grafting skill to silently alter the direction of this causality, redirecting the assassination attempt toward the target you most wish to strike. At this moment, the demonic shadow lurking within the Dragon Clan's territory in the East Sea had locked onto its target and was silently condensing demonic energy, preparing to strike. He remained completely unaware that his every movement, along with the schemes of the mastermind behind him, had already been clearly seen by you. And even less did he know that a counterattack aimed at the demon ancestor Luoho had already quietly